Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. We're going to talk about prophecy in the news, and I've got 3 articles I want to take a look at today and just get a better perspective of where I think this places us in terms of end-time Bible prophecy. A couple things to note first. Please hit the bell icon. That way you'll get notifications of all my new videos. If you don't do that, even if you're subscribed, you may not receive notification that I'm actually uploading videos. And so definitely click the bell below this video, and that will ensure that you're getting all the notifications. Second thing I want to mention briefly is that I have procured a better microphone. Right now I'm using a Blue Ice microphone. It's kind of the bottom of the line. There's no mute button on it. There's no pop filter on it. There's no suspension or whatever you call it to prevent bumps and that sort of thing. And no other optimizations and no other features on it that I can tweak or adjust. So I'm hoping that will further improve the quality of the videos. So let's take a look at the news articles from today. Jordanians, so the people of Jordan are calling for a third Intifada, not terrorists, not Gaza, not Hamas or Hezbollah. The Jordanians apparently are calling for a third Intifada to thwart what? The deal of the century. So Jordanians apparently don't like this, or they're being stirred up to believe it's not good for them. I think a large part is because part of the details that have leaked is that part of the plan is to have the Palestinians, so-called Palestinians, who were originally Jordanians, to indeed go back to Jordan and have citizenship there and be able to get jobs there, etc. And I think that's what they're, what they're concerned about. We're going to hear shortly, end of June, I think it is currently set for, more detail about the economic incentives of the peace deal, of the deal of the century, and what the peace plan is going to say about where maybe the Palestinians can move if they want. Is there going to be an option for them to freely move to Jordan and have Jordan accept them, as long as Jordan accepts a whole pile of money from the U.S. or the Middle East states, etc. as part of this? We don't know, but this is kind of all the detail that's floating around. And the Jordanians aren't in favor of it, interestingly. But all the details that I've heard is that, indeed, these are the relatives. These are relatives of Jordanians. In fact, their ancestry goes back to effectively Jordanians, where Jordan had a larger landmass than it does right now. Of course, now due to the existence of the State of Israel. But yeah, this is where these people come from. They're Jordanians or they're Egyptians. They come from various places. I think it was Yasser Arafat, who was actually, and hopefully I'm quoting the right person, but I believe he was actually an Egyptian. He wasn't from Gaza at all. He wasn't Jordanian. He wasn't a nomad. He was actually an Egyptian. So where these people come from is in large part obscured in this day and age. People don't want to really understand where they came from. They just want to call them Palestinians, and most of the world wants them to have a state. And that's not all bad necessarily, except that where do you do that and how do you do that is the question. So Jordanian thought leaders are calling for a third Palestinian Intifada against Israel. They're calling for the Gazans themselves to rise up against Israel because they're worried about the Jordanians are worried about the deal of the century. It says, Memory examined a series of columns printed in the Jordanian press, including the government daily Al Rai, calling on the Palestinian people to rise up in violence. I wonder if this includes the Palestinians who are actually in refugee camps in Jordan itself. Are they also calling on those Palestinian refugees to rise up? I doubt it. I think they want to keep the violence and the rising up outside of their borders, and they want anything to prevent this peace deal so that the status quo is withheld with Jordan. How shall we deal with the deal of the century was the title of the column. The piece was published on April 26, called on Palestinian factions to rally around the spirit of resistance. Again, but this, I don't think this includes the actual people in Jordan doing anything. The Palestinians must immediately stop security coordination with the occupation, support and encourage all liberation forces in Palestine. This looks like a call to action. and spread the spirit of resistance and confrontation among the people. They just want to spread fear and violence. They're not interested in talking about this. So it's a very interesting situation. The next article that I want to look at is from Neon Nettle, and apparently Ocasio-Cortez has said that Christians and Muslims, Muslim prayers, go to the same place. So here's a quote. I just want to read this briefly and make a comment on it. It says, well, Representative Omar prays when I pray, when Representative Rashida prays, when Presley prays, Ayanna prays, when Shakowski prays. I believe those prayers all go to the same place, up. And the comment I want to make about that is that she is absolutely incorrect. And I think Muslims would feel that's an insult and absolutely incorrect, and they would take offense at that. And certainly Christians take offense at that too. Christianity is an exclusive faith. We believe in Jesus Christ and the God of the universe, and certainly the God of Islam is not the God of the Bible. They are distinct, very distinct. And maybe that's a video for another day, to look at the differences between Allah, the God of Islam, and the God of the Bible. One difference is that Allah is capricious. You never exactly know if you're in his favorable book, so you got to keep doing good works to ensure that you'll get to heaven and get your 70 virgins and all that extra detail from the Islamic eschatology. And so Allah is a God that you can't know directly. You can't have a personal relationship with. You can't know exactly how he's going to deal with you when you die. God, the God of the Bible, Jesus, the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, is completely different. The Bible is all about a relationship. It is all about having salvation through Jesus Christ, not by works, so you don't have to do any works, whereas in the Islamic faith you have to continue to do works throughout your life to hopefully be good enough. Through Jesus Christ, we accept a free gift of salvation. We don't pay anything for it. It's free and it's eternal. We have it eternally. We can know that we are saved forever right this second. We don't have to try to do something else. We don't necessarily even have to live our lives in a specific way. Although if we love God, we will live our lives and attempt to do his will. But the center point of Christianity is that it's a free gift of salvation, and it's a surety of where you're going. You're not left guessing, whereas in Islam you're left guessing as to, will I be good enough? Have I done enough good works? Is Allah going to let me into heaven, etc.? So very polar opposite deities. And of course Christians believe that there is no God, Allah. And in fact, the only one true God is the God of the Bible. And we get that looking at the historicity of the Bible, the accuracy of the Bible, and glean truth from that, and glean truth through creation and through the prophecies that have been fulfilled. So these are all proofs as to the God of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The God that Israel prays to, however, is the same God. They pray to the God of the Old Testament, which is of course the God of the New Testament as well. They just don't recognize Jesus Christ as part of that Trinity, part of the triune God. One day they will. That's what the 7-year period is for, spoken of in Daniel. But right now they don't recognize Jesus Christ as Messiah, the free gift of salvation. So the religion of Judaism is still based on works in large part, and the covering of sin by sacrifice, although they have been doing sacrifices, whereas in Christianity our sin is not only just covered, it's paid for, it's wiped away, it's washed away. Jesus took all that upon himself when he died on the cross, and he gave that to us as a free gift of salvation. If we just accept it, we will know once and for all, eternally, no matter what we do going forward, we will be in heaven with God. All right, I was going to say something short about that, but I just want to make that clarification, and I don't know how many people are going to be talking about this one, but I wanted to put that out there. All right. In relation to the 70 shepherds of Israel, I think this is significant. This is from Haaretz, and certainly not a Netanyahu liking news organization. Netanyahu aims for a narrow coalition as talks hit snag. So this is part of the 70 shepherds of Israel, where if the 70 shepherds of Israel is a prophecy that's going to be fulfilled and confirmed, then effectively Netanyahu, who is the 70th, effectively he has to stay in power until the return of Jesus Christ. Now, him winning the elections was part of that. If he lost the elections, the 70 shepherds of Israel will be debunked. It would be no longer true. It would be proven false. But we could not say that when he was elected. We had to say, well, this prophecy continues then, and we won't know that it's absolutely fulfilled until Jesus returns. But it's nearly miraculous in a way that he got, I think it's his fifth term in office, an unprecedented fifth term in office, I believe. But now the question's up in the air again. Is he going to be able to form a coalition government? And if not, is someone else going to rise up and be the leader, the prime minister of Israel, if he can't put together this coalition? And that's what this is about. So we go back to talking about the 70 shepherds of Israel. It's not complete yet. The elections aren't complete. Lieberman, who is, I guess, the key figure here, says he would vote against a 60-seat government. He says it's an ultra-Orthodox government that, instead of preserving Israel as a Jewish nation, will turn it into a halakha state. This news is from today. So this is significant. If Lieberman and anybody else with him votes against this and votes down the coalition government, well, Netanyahu's going to have to scramble to create another coalition government, or I guess they go back to voting and see who's going to be able to create the government. So this very much is the 70 shepherds of Israel effectively being up in the air again, which only goes to prove it all the more if this actually goes through. And he is still in power because, the odds are stacked against him time after time. A fifth term in office, which is unprecedented, and then the trouble with creating a coalition government. The odds are stacked against him, so the odds of this prophecy being true are really low. That means the lower the odds are, the more miraculous, really, that it is, and it ends up being fulfillment, really, if that prophecy is true. So something to look forward to. Netanyahu met with heads of coalition government Thursday and decided to create a narrow coalition of only 60 seats, but called on Yisrael Beitenu chairman Avigdor Lieberman to stand by his obligations to the voters and join the coalition. So he is a key vote, I guess. Lieberman responded that the moment the ultra-Orthodox parties put aside their objections to conscription law, which goes against previous agreements, a new government will be established. So when they put aside their objections of conscription law, a new government will be established. So there's reasons for him to vote along with this coalition government, but he's trying to push his weight around. And so this is apparently up in the air right now, all based on how Lieberman decides to vote and how he's going to lead his push forward the Yisrael Beitenu party. So again, interesting stuff as we look to anti-Bible prophecy, extra biblical prophecy. We look at the prophecy of the 70 shepherds being fulfilled and continually being updated in this day and age. We look at the people of this world. And this is what the Antichrist and the false prophet are going to say. The false prophet's going to come in and say, look, you know what? We all pray to the same God, so let's have peace and security, knowing that we all pray to the same God. And he's going to convince most of the world to believe that they're praying to the same God. And this is what AOC is pronouncing. And so this is coming. And there's not going to be a lot of people who are going to speak out against it. And even if they do, they're not going to get any leeway here. Because any unbeliever, anybody who's not a Christian or a Muslim, is going to happily jump on board this and say, yeah, let's go ahead with this idea, because maybe this will get the religions on side and stop the fighting. And so the whole world is going to get on board with this, basically because they want the fighting to stop. But we do live in a holy war situation, a religious war. It's between God and the angels and the devil, and the princes in the air above and the evil spirits. They're all warring. Satan's trying to take as many with him as he can, while God is trying to gather up as many and knock on the door on as many people as he can to have them accept Jesus and be with him in heaven for eternity. And that's really the religious war going on. And then, of course, back to the original article, we have this peace deal here, and Jordan not liking it. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. And I want to see the detail of exactly what is in store for Jordan as it relates to this deal of the century. And why are they complaining right now when they don't even really know all of the deal of the century? This is all going to come out when the economic conference in Bahrain starts in the end of June. So we're approaching that period. And I think the build-up to that will be significant tensions with Iran. Certainly there's a military buildup right now. I haven't heard any specific latest news, although there's continual rumbling about forces. There's more U.S. soldiers getting ready to head to Iraq in defense of Iraq and the other states in the Middle East that the U.S. is backing there, all against Iran. So I will leave it there for today, guys. A couple articles, again, just to give you an idea of where we are in Bible prophecy, and I think these are significant. Thanks for watching, and as always, we will see you guys in the next video.